Hello, this is Josh Spicer from GameWisdom.com. This is a quick video on Renowned Explorers International Society. The game that I've been playing a whole lot of if you've frequently visited the YouTube channel. But I wanted to do a little video on the metagame of the title, or more specifically what you do after each expedition, because it's very important and it's one area that a lot of people have some trouble figuring out how to plan their strategies around. So for this quickie, we're going to just go over all the systems and all the items on the screen and basically give you some ideas of what you should be doing after each mission. Before we get going for real, just a few tidbits, I guess. First, this party that I made, this was just a group that I threw together just so I could get through the tutorial or Expedition 1, which you have to do before you even get to the screen. So I don't know if this party is, great or not just yet, but that doesn't have any bearing on this video. Anyway, let's go over some of the information on the screen. So we'll start with probably the most important bit, at least for the overall game, and that is what's going on in the upper right hand corner. If you look up here, first we have your attitude. For those of you who played the game before, you can start and end battles in either friendly, devious, or aggressive attitudes. These determine rewards that you'll get and will determine your official ranking at the end of the game if you win. For this part, what this means is for certain perks and certain items, you may get a bonus for being a certain attitude. And this is the way of basically letting you know what that is. Over here, you have your renown. And this is key to winning the game. Basically, you get renown for every bit of resources that you get, or tokens as they're saying, and collecting treasure. In order to win the game, you need 2,000 or more. If we look right here, you can see that your rival is at 2,000. So in order to win, you must beat his rating. The game also features one final expedition in Shangri-La, which is basically like the super boss fight tough thing. If you can beat that, you'll get a huge amount of renown, but it is very difficult. As long as you have over 2,000, when the game is over, you'll win no matter what you do. One second, I want to lower the sound a little bit more, because we're not really interested in the music here. It's more important talking about what we're seeing here. So one second. There we go. So as I was saying, strategy of the game is knowing how much renown you'll get. On a good trip, you can get between 300 to 500 renown if you're doing okay. If you just have an amazing run, you can get even more than that. But just remember, all you need is 2001 renown to win. So if you have a crew that it's not really working well, they're not surviving fights all that much, as long as you get over the renown total, you'll still win and you won't need to go to Shangri-La. Alright, over here, this is basically shows some of the items and things you've picked up. Your treasures. Treasures basically give you insight right here and renown. They also can give you special bonuses, such as this one, the Viking drinking horn that I picked up. It's a rare item, as you can see by the fact that it's gold, and it gives a special bonus. Speakers gain +2 speech, that would be these two, and you gain a different token for a complete encounter friendly. We'll talk more about the tokens in a second. I just want to double check that here. It won't show that, unfortunately. Oh, here we have your entourage. These are the people that you hire that will provide passive bonuses. We'll be looking at that in a minute. The rest of these are basically like the in-game reference guide, menu, stuff like that. We don't really care about that. Up here, you have your supplies. On every trip, whenever you move to a new space on the map, you'll consume between 0 to 2 supplies, depending upon the space. Run out of supplies, and every trip or every point you go for from that point will inflict a random debuff on your explorers. It could be lower someone's attack, lower someone's speech, completely random, and completely random who gets affected. But basically, that's your clue to let you know it's time to end the expedition. But it's also very important to hit as many points as you can on each expedition because you need those resources. Similar to FTL, basically a really strong early game will infer and flow through to the middle and end. So if you suffer in the beginning, you may not make it through to the end of this game. Now, over here we have your resolve. This is basically your lives. Every time a crew member runs out of spirit or a very bad event, you'll lose resolve. If it hits 0, your game's over. You'll gain resolve for beating expeditions, and there's some events that can also give it to you. Basically, you want a lot of resolve. This basically gives you more and more extra lives to play around with. Now over here we have our resources and the token display. The token display is very important, and it's one thing that the game really doesn't touch on. And I had to figure these things out through play and through looking at the reference guide. The tokens basically work like in a board game. Each token will give you a certain number of resources based on the token itself. So let's look at this. First one, we have a collect token. This is for gold. As you can see, I will get 10 to 15 gold for each one of these tokens I have at the end of an expedition. So I get a lot of collect tokens, I'll get a lot of gold. The second tier of collect is the treasure hunt. And as you can see, pretty big difference, 50 to 75 versus 10 to 15, and this gives status as well. So obviously you want a lot of treasure hunt over collect, but they're much more rare. We come over here to campaign. Each token gives 10 to 15, and then the enhanced version of that is the secret, which gives 50 to 75. So again, you want to get the higher tier if possible. But a lot of these basic ones are going to be part of your strategy. Now, this one on the far right is very important. This is the encounter token. You get this for obviously beating the encounters, but many encounters will require you to beat it with a certain attitude in order to get the encounter token bonus. And there are items and perks you can unlock which will give you more value or more encounter tokens based on how you resolve things. Now, you don't need to memorize that. Whenever you start a battle, it will show you plain and clear which attitudes will give you what rewards. Now, we come up here, we can look at your actual resources. Gold, status, research, and insight. Gold is obvious, lets you buy items and get better gear. This is your main way of upgrading your characters. Status lets you access the entourage, as well as upgrade shops to get higher tier gear. Essentially, status and gold work hand in hand. You need a lot of status to upgrade, and then you need a lot of gold to buy those items. Research is primarily used on the research screen, which is what that flashing light you're seeing in the upper left hand corner. And while it only works, or it's only affecting that one screen, it's a very important screen, which we're going to be spending some time on in a minute. And then on the next set, you have insight. Insight is basically earned whenever you get a treasure, and certain captains can earn it by completing expeditions. So I believe Agatha over here has that. Yeah, she gets +1 insight. Insight is used down here at these basically jobs. They let you earn tokens and can be essentially used to supplement a resource that you need. Like, as you can see, I have a lot of gold and a lot of status. I don't have a lot of research. So I could go to Berlin, and as you can see, she gets bonus research due to her captain perk. She'll get 3 study tokens, while these two only get 1. Basically, another thing to keep in mind is that the type of crew member affects this. Speakers like our two here, Yvonne and Charles, are better at collecting gold. They'll get bonuses for that as we get further in. Or I'm sorry, the speakers are better at getting status. It's the scouts who are green, who I don't have in this party, they're better at getting gold. So you can see here, 2 versus her 1. Over here we have, of course, your inventory, shows you the stats of every character. And we'll go through these stats, I think, in a minute. I want to go back to the research because it's flashing, obviously, and this is probably a good point to talk about it. Alright, this is basically a page of passive buffs, similar to the politics options that you saw in like Civilization. You have 6 trees here. These 2 represent advantages on the map, advantages during combat, and then these 4 are for each of the 4 classes in the game: Scientist, Scout, Speaker, and Fighter. Each time you spend research, as you can see up here, the cost is going to go up. So it's going to become more and more expensive to get even down one line of the layer trees. These will only become unlocked after we complete 2 expeditions, so we've already gone 1. But we can go through each one of these and I can talk about what they mean. So preparation, right off the bat, you get this. You'll get an additional, you'll get more study for spending insight. So with Agatha, this will be a good synergy. This will enhance that. If I go the Chronicle route, this will give me research from each encounter token. If you look up here, the encounter token just says 15 to 20, 10 to 15. But if I unlock this, it's going to give research as well. That will essentially let me get all 3 resources from fighting. That can be very useful, especially if you're playing as an aggressively minded party. Each one of these trees also gives you a special perk if you completely get everything in them. As you can see, for completing the preparation tree, basically every job that you could do on the world map will gain you 1 extra token. So you were only going to get 2 before, you'll get 3, and so on. Completing Chronicle, you'll get 50% stat gain from perks. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Now, on the screen, as you can see, everything here is good. You want everything in a perfect world, you'll unlock every wonderful item on this and be overpowered. That's never going to happen. So you need to plan exactly how you want to go down this tree. I'm sorry, down these 6 trees. Strategy is going to be based on your crew members, and how much research you actually have. Because I have 2 speakers, it's going to pay to go down the culture line. If I had 2 scientists or 3 fighters, it would be going to go down the science or adventure tree respectively. So I'm going to go down each one of these so you can see what they do, and then we'll talk about some of the basic strategies. First thing, tools of the trade. This gives you a tool. On the adventure, or whenever you're on an expedition, choosing a specific event, you'll have to pick a character, then run the adventure wheel. And you'll get a percentage to show whether you'll win or succeed that event, with different rewards and consequences that go with it. A tool will give you a plus 25% chance on that event. So if you had a 50% chance of winning, this will give you a 75%. And if it takes it to 100 or more, you'll just automatically win if you use it. The tool will be consumed and you'll get a new one at the next expedition. If you fail the event that you were using the tool on, the tool doesn't get consumed. Come over here. This gains plus 1 insight every time you finish an expedition. This is one of those really useful ones you want to get early on, because it's going to only work every time you complete an expedition. And with Agatha, who gets 1 already, this basically gives you double. That gives you more tokens that you can play around with, and can help supplement you more. Explorer's Toolkit gives you 2 tools instead of 1, self-explanatory. Opening doors. This lowers the cost of upgrading the shops and the entourage hall by 40%. Not a big deal, but if you're on your way to completing this, it doesn't hurt to get. Excuse me. And then field rations, the biggie. This gets you 2 more supply, taking your grand total from 10 to 12. That can be huge in the later expeditions, and it's why a lot of people go down this tree first. Chronicles, as we already said, you'll get the plus research. First one, you'll get 2 points of resolve for free. Think of it as 2 extra lives. This gains you plus gold and status from the encounter token. So again, it's enhancing these encounter tokens, which you'll only get for winning fights. Exploit emotions is a biggie. What this does is it allows you to gain an additional benefit for attacking enemies and giving them an emotional debuff. Each emotion gives a 1 debuff to begin with. For instance, if we look over here, you make someone terrified, it lowers their attack by 25%. If you make someone impressed, it lowers their speech defense by 25 points. What the Exploit Emotions does, it basically gives one emotion, you only get one shot of this, an additional effect. So, for instance, it could make Impress also lower someone's attack as well as their speech defense. That may not be completely sure, I don't have it up at the moment, but you get the idea. This gives you plus 50 and 50 for the encounter instead of 25 and 25. And this one essentially just bumps everyone up 10%. And again, this is why these two are left to begin with, or at the start, because they're really great to infer the rest of your expedition on. And you pretty much want to get them, or get as much of them as you can, because the earlier you get them, the more their benefits are going to help you. Now, to show you what I mean, I'm going to put this on. We're going to see the encounter token get enhanced. So, I'm going to spend 10 research. And as you can see, the encounter token has been augmented. It now gives 4 to 6 research, as well as the gold and the status. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but that can do a lot for layer plays. And again, if you're going to be doing a lot of fighting, this is a way of giving you research on top of that. And honestly, it almost pays to get this as your first one, and maybe even go down this. But I like to go down here, and I like to get at least one tool, or at least get the Insightful Expedition to start out with, because this and this are going to help you out straight from the get-go. So now I don't have enough research, but this is where I can spend my insight. If we come back to the world map, go to Berlin, you can see, thanks to the bonus from the preparations tree and Agatha's enhancements, I can now get 5 study tokens instead of, it was 1 and 3, it's now 5 and 3. So let's spend one here. And thanks to that, I have enough research for another upgrade. And again, this went from 20 to now 30. Or I'm sorry, it went from 10, 20, 30. So the safer play would be to go for the tool, but for more impact later on, I like to get the Insightful Expedition. And you see now that cost went up to 40. So, let's talk about these other trees. These are all ways of enhancing the specific classes. And unless you have them, you can just disregard them for this play. So we'll look at scouting first, or actually we'll look at fighting first, because I don't have any fighters. First thing it does, it gives you plus collect for a Wits challenge. Wits challenges generally are based around aggressive perks, like Tactician, Quick Thinker, and stuff like that. And by completing it, you get an extra trinket slot. The trinket slot is this right here. This allows you to give your character more benefits, which we'll look at in a minute or so. First thing, gain extra collect if you resolve an encounter aggressive. Obviously, this will give you more collect tokens, gives you more gold. Gain an extra 2. Same deal. This is an interesting one. What this does is whenever someone with a level 3 or 3 parts of the athletic perk or 3 parts of the tactician perk succeeds on a challenge, you'll get one of those resources. So if you look over here, I have a survivalist right here with Charles. He only has 1 point. So, I'm sorry. What was it I had? I know I had an athlete. Oh, here we go. If I would have given her the tactician perk, it would only give her 1 point in that. So this wouldn't work. But if I use items and other rewards to get her 3 athlete or 3 tactician, I could use this to get more items on the adventure wheel, or more tokens. This is a really awesome one. Basically, it lets the fighter give plus 25 armor to any adjacent non-fighting allies. So this can be used to buff up dramatically speakers, scouts, or other characters who are staying next to the fighter. And down here, fighters gain a permanent 2 attack every time they succeed. This is a big one. If you give a fighter a lot of perks so that they'll be your go-to, you can use this to basically snowball their attack perk or their attack stat to give them obscene attack damage. Really a big one that you want to get if you have a fighter or you're going that route. Science. First, you get +1 study for doing a technique challenge. Again, those are challenges that relate to the scientific perks. Let's look at these items. First, scientists gain impress resistance, which means they'll take less damage from speech attacks that would give them the impress effect, and their area effect abilities will cover a larger area. Most scientists have AoE skills, so this just makes them far-reaching. Okay. +1 campaign and collect when doing a study. This is a big one, especially if you're going to do a lot of studying like I would with Agatha as my captain. So it would actually pay to get just this one, and then I'll basically be able to collect all 3 resources simply by collecting study. Alright, here, this basically gives a major bonus for having those specific perks. So you see a level 3 archaeologist gets +5 speech, level 5 gets +10. So probably not good to get from the start, but if you do go down that route and have characters who have those bonuses, this could be a great way to supplement them. Oh, here, +1 study whenever a scientist succeeds on the adventure wheel, self-explanatory. +2, again. So for this, I would actually consider going down this, even though I just have 1 scientist, because again, she's going to be doing +1 study for doing her insight jobs. So this would augment that and get me more resources. But obviously I can't do this play. Oh, here, scouting. This is for the scouts, obviously. +1 study for completing a nature challenge. First is scouts will gain +10 grit. Grit is basically the chance to dodge attacks. So this enhances that as long as they're not next to an ally. Gain extra study, resolve an encounter devious, self-explanatory, gain +2. And this is a pretty biggie. As you can see, this will allow a survivalist to gain extra supply whenever they succeed on the adventure wheel. This is the only option that you have other than random events to get more supply on the field. This can be very big if you have someone who goes to a level 4 survivalist. I think Charles only has level 1 right now. And then their ultimate one, in an encounter, all scouts gain 20% of their grit as bonus attack and speech. It doesn't sound that big of a deal until you realize that scouts have an exclusive item they can wear the boot, which gives them plus grit. So if you have a party of scouts, this can be a great way to give them a major boost to their attack strength and their speech strength, obviously. Culture, obviously for the speakers, +1 campaign for a cultural challenge. Their first one is all speakers gain +1 speech and speech defense with each secret found. Secret, again, is the rarer version of the campaign token. So this is similar to the fighter perk right up here, gain +2 attack. This is one of those items that, or one of these perks that, if you get this early enough, it can just snowball out of control by the end. Because it affects all your speakers, even those who don't do anything on the adventure wheel. But it really is only going to pay off if you have 2 or more speakers. So this party, yes. If I only have 1 speaker, probably not. Now this is a good one, vocal range. Not only does it give them Saturn resistance, but it gives them +1 range on all their speech-based attack. So that would be like this: sadden, impress, deride, stuff like that. So if you look over here, what this would do is Instead of having a range of 2 tiles, this will give him a range of 3. Now, I don't know if melee goes from melee to 2. That I don't know, unfortunately, because I haven't had a chance to check that out. But this can be really big for your speakers, because generally the speakers are glass cannon types. This will allow you to use them from a much further range and keep them out of harm's way easier. Definitely a must if you have speakers. And then we have plus campaign for solving count friendly, +2, and then same thing like the fighter one, right? Where's here? So this is like the similar thing. Level 3 diplomat gets +1 collect. Level 3 beguiler +1 campaign. So as you can see, a lot of great stuff to go for. And again, these two you really want to get as much as you can, and then you're going to go down one of these. Probably one, maybe two if you get lucky with research, to supplement your specific classes. Now, and we're still not done actually. This quick video's quickly turning into a longer one, but that's just because there's so much to look at on this map. We'll see if we can wrap things up in a few minutes though. So, we'll go to the entourage first. The entourages are basically enhancers to your tokens. As you can see, a lobbyist will enhance a campaign token, merchant enhances gold, student enhances research. So this is pretty simple. Look over here, the study token gets 4 to 6. I do that, it now does 4 to 7. I do another one, it becomes 4 to 8. So you pretty much want as many of these guys as you can. Specialists give you obviously they give you special things. These guys will give you extra tokens for completing encounters different ways. The specialists that you'll have access to are random on each new play. Now if I upgrade this, you could get a trader which enhances the encounter token, or a journalist that enhances it as well for status. But I wanted to go here. Some specialists can give you perks. As you can see, this guy, the Vigilante. So if I buy him for 250 status, I can then give one of these 2 survivalist perks to any one of my members here. So obviously I would want to give this to Charles since he already has 1 point in survivalist. This will give him 2. And as you can see, for each point of survivalist, it's going to give me more grit, which means it will make him have a greater chance at avoiding damage. While every point in diplomat gives me more speech and speech defense, so this will make him better at using speech-based attacks. But these specialists and the items are the main ways that you'll get new perks. You can also get them from random events, but that's a little too much for this video. So usually whenever you have a chance to get a free perk, I usually go for it because it's always going to help, and it could be the difference between succeeding or failing at the adventure wheel. So I would spend the 250. Charles will get this. And this will update in about a minute or so. Sometimes it takes a while. I think it's just something with the game. But yeah, you pretty much want to spend all your status after each expedition, because you want to use it to enhance these tokens as best you can. Let's go to the shop. Shop is obviously where you're going to buy items. The basic gear that these characters start with is horrible, and you really want to replace these defensive items quick. As you can see, this only gives you +1 speech defense. Even the level 1 armor will give you +10 points or +10. So the first thing that I always do is sell this stuff and then buy this basic gear. And you want to buy it based on the character stats. As you can see right here, because she has low armor, she's only going to resist 17% of physical attacks, but she's going to resist 35% of speech. I found it much safer to try to get your different defenses as close to each other as possible. It's better to have more in both than to be really high in one or the other, because it leaves that character very susceptible to the other attack, and one bad encounter can just devastate your resolve. So because she has 10 in armor, I'm going to give her decent armor here. So now that 10 becomes 20. So for a character like Charles, it really doesn't matter, because they're both pretty much within the same range. For Yvonne, she would be armor as well. And then for these two, your attack, I found it better to go for every other, and you'll see why right now. Upgrade to unlock the tier 2 gear, and you can see the difference. 3-1 becomes 6-3. And it's really only a difference of about 105 gold. But the advantage is a lot greater. And again, I found defense items much better to get first. Now, these are the trinkets. They give you special advantages, and they'll give you additional perks. As you can see, the machete gives the athletic perk of stamina. This gives you the survivalist and navigation. And again, as you can see, if I put this on Charles, his survivalist goes from level 2 to level 3. That means that if we have a survivalist-based challenge, his chance of succeeding is going to be that much better. This is why you really want to buy these trinkets. The trinket slot should always be filled on these characters. Even, I would say, even more than getting weapons or armor, because their special advantages can be huge. There's two really great ones that are, I think, unlocked at level 3 and level 4. The trowel and shovel gives 2 archaeologist perks, and it gives that character a aura that any enemies near them will suffer negative 25 speech defense. This can be huge if you have a speech-based party. If you have an aggressive party, there's an item called, I think, tactical formations or a tactical battle plan, something like that. And what that does, it gives that, whoever you wear it, it gives them 2 tactician perks, and it enhances everyone around them. They'll do 25% more damage. If you have an all-fighter party, that is a gimme. You want that trinket on at least one member of your party. So for this part, because I have speakers, I would definitely want that trowel and shovel item when I get that option. We're not going to get it in this video, unfortunately. I will not have the money for that. But we are, just to go through here, so I would want to give this, again, to enhance that survivalist. And you also want to spread out and get other perks as well. And this is what the trinkets will let you do. Because I don't have an engineer on me. Now, I would also want to get... This will also be good for Charles as well, because it'll give him a level 4 diplomat. But I could also go a level 3 survivalist. So that's going to be a choice for you. Now, if I go all the way down the research for the speakers, as you can see right here, I could get an additional trinket slot and give that, so I could have 2 trinkets on Charles. Again, it's always good to spend your gold. And you want to get armor first, then trinket, and then weapons. I found that to be the safest way to play. Enhancing your weapon, which would be like the glove or the book, is useful, but I found only going like every other rank will pay off more, and getting these items to boost your defenses and your trinket slots, I think, pays off a lot more. So typically, you want to get these and these, and just spend your gold. You'll get a lot more gold, or you should get a lot more gold after the expedition, and it's not going to do you any good on when you're actually there. You can buy some items from expedition shops, but they're not a common occurrence. And these items, I think, do a lot more. These are the boots, again, for the scouts. So, again, hopefully this has given you a good idea. So for this, again, since we are starting out, I want to get as much study as I can. And another thing, as you can see, if I enhance the study token using these students, that will make this even more valuable. So if I spend the research to unlock this, gain, campaign, collect, everything can basically synergize together to earn me a lot of additional resources. So for this, I would probably go either Tools of the Trade or enhancing the encounter token. Again, this is the safer option. This is the gamble. If I get this, it's going to help me out a lot more. So I would go for this once you have your feet wet and you know what you're doing. If you're just starting out learning Renowned Explorers, the Tools of the Trade is going to be the safer one. Let's see. Are we missing anything else to do? We covered this. We covered the shop. Oh, yeah. The final thing is obviously picking an expedition. Every time you complete one expedition, 2 more will become available. And they'll go up in ranking from 2 all the way up to 5 stars, which is the Shangri-La final expedition. If you click on the expedition, it will give you some clues about what will be the rewards, as you can see, plenty of status, and what kind of perks you want to take with you. Again, you can look at the perks here. So he's a level 3 diplomat. If we come back here, diplomat will be good on this, and archaeologist will be good on this, which she's a level 3. Which means that these 2 would actually be good to take on this one. And for complete expedition, you'll unlock something unique. For this, I will unlock a second entourage shop. That means that I'll be able to spend my status to get more entourage people, which means I'll be able to enhance these tokens more, which will give me more resources. If we look at the map, there's another one. This one we already did. The Caribbean island, this is the aggressive one, as you can see. This one, you expect nature challenges and technique challenges. So if we come back up here, we look here, it was nature and technique, so that'll be these 2. This one is for fighting. You're going to be doing a lot of aggressive play. And again, it gives you some clues as to what to expect in terms of challenges, and you can get a lot of research. And for beating this, you'll get an additional item shop. That item shop gives you gives you books that will enhance certain emotional based attacks. So again, if you're going for that type of play, that could be worth it for you. Again, there's so many choices and you're not going to get everything. And then I think this is the last thing. We'll just look at this character page. We'll get equipment we already did. The stats. Again, stats are augmented based on the gear that you're wearing, as you can see. And your perks. Each perk gives you these different bonuses. And you can see you can get up to 6. And if you get up high enough to like rank 5, usually the bonus gets even higher. And again, certain characters or certain classes will get bonuses based on their tree. Like right here. Do they get a bonus? No. But yeah, but generally speaking, you want the higher the perk, the better. So I think that will be it. So just a quick recap. Entourages will let you enhance your tokens. Always good to get. You should be spending all your status on them before each event. Insight is used to get more tokens when you're not out exploring. Research gets you passive buffs. Shops give you item. And now one other thing. Some people will debate whether to spend all your insight or hoard it. I find it's better to hold on to it and use it just to like give you that extra push. Like let's say you want to buy a really good item and you're down 10 gold basically. Then you can spend it here. It's better to have it in reserve than to blow it all immediately and then not have it when you really need it. And if you've already bought everything that you want, you can just hold on to it. And again, if you get characters who give you more insight, such as Agatha with her captain perk, and get Insightful Expedition, This will give you a whole lot of insight along with the treasures you find. And that's generally the strategy to really win at Renowned Explorers. Again, you want a very strong early game, enhancing your entourage to get more tokens so you can enhance everything up, and all that will just infer and grow and will hopefully help you win at the end. And remember, you just need 2,000 insight or 2,001 insight to win. If you're feeling really confident and you've just kicked so much ass, you can then attempt Shangri-La. But I would say for your first play starting out, it's better to just go for the 2,000 renowned gold. Renowned gold. So I think that is going to be it. If you have any more questions about what to do on the screen, definitely leave a comment below. If you want more videos like this how-to, definitely mention that as well. So, I'm going to end things here. I hope this has helped you at least figure out this basically metagame of the title. I was only expecting to do this for 10 minutes. I realized we had almost 40 or going over 40 minutes worth of content to talk about. It's just that complicated of a system here. But this should give you a good first step into learning Renowned Explorers and kicking ass on your own. So, thanks a lot for tuning in for this, well, not so quick video. Be sure to check out the rest of the videos on the Game Wisdom YouTube page. And go to game-wisdom.com for posts and podcasts relating to game design in the industry, as well as our ongoing Patreon campaign to secure some much-needed monthly funding. You can find me under Patreon as Josh Beister or Game Wisdom, and any donations would be greatly appreciated. And if you're coming to these quick videos, just stumble upon, I also run a Twitch channel that is GW Beister most nights at 10 Eastern. That's where you can watch me actually play games and talk about them. I've done a lot of Renowned Explorers up there, as well as other games as well. So, thanks again for tuning in, and I hope this helped you out. Take care.